أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدم. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
طيب. And the next مسألة ويعذر بترك النعم. So here write the title إن شاء الله. الأعذار المبيحة لترك الجماعة والجمعة. لترك الجماعة والجمعة. طيب. When the Shaykh rahimahullah was on, or he started the mabhath of Salatul Jama'ah, the hukum was what? According to the Hanabila, what is the hukum of Salatul Jama'ah? Wajibah. So here, he's about to give us excuses or reasons which justify the person not going to the Jum'ah or the Jama'ah. If you hear Jama'ah, it means the 5 daily prayers. If you hear Jum'ah, it means the Jum'ah that we're accustomed to. طيب. And this comes from the ease of the Sharia, the easiness of the what? Of the Sharia. إن الدين يسر, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم, قال جل وعلا. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, fear Allah Jalla wa Ala to the best of your ability. ما أمرتكم به فأتوا منه ما استطعتم. Whatever I command you to pray, to do, come with as much of it as you can. صلي قائما فإن لم تستطع فقاعدا فإن لم تستطع فعلى جنب. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pray standing. If you're not able, then sitting. If you're not able, then standing. So our Sharia is a Sharia that is khafif. It is easy for the person to practice. And there's always a solution for the person. And this bab, the asl that it goes back to is the qa'idah of al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir. So this bab goes back to the asl of al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir. Al-mashaqqatu, difficulty and hardship, tajlibu, brings about at-taysir, ease. And with regards to the takhfif, or how the Sharia has made something easy and so on, we're going to study in Qawa'id al-Fiqhiyya, lakin I want you to take something as homework, inshallah. There's something called Anwa' al-Takhfif. طبعا, the Sharia has legislated rulings for a person that is not able to fast, for a person that is not able to pray standing. What I want you, the homework that I want you to do is to write down the types of takhfif and examples. I'm going to give you the types and I want you to give examples. So the first type is what? I want you to write down. تخفيف الإسقاط. تخفيف الإسقاط. A تخفيف, an easing of إسقاط, where the wajib or the ibadah is totally dropped. Meaning the Muslim is not expected to come with that ibadah because he can't. So what I want you to do is to write masail that fit under this, that come under this category. The next category, takhfif tanqis. Takhfif tanqis. Takhfif of lessening, decreasing. Again, I want you to write examples. The third, takhfif al-ibdal. Takhfif al-ibdal, where the easiness of changing, where the ibadah has been changed, it has been changed. Takhfif al-taqdeem, the fourth one, the takhfif of taqdeem, to put forward. So a person is not able to do it at its correct time, he's allowed to do it before that time. And the fifth is takhfif al-ta'khir, takhfif, an easing, which is what? Ta'khir, which is delayed. So he's not able to do it at its correct time, but he's allowed to do it after its time has ended. Number 6, takhfif al-tarkhis, a takhfif in which a person is allowed to take the concession, the rukhsa. Number 7, takhfif at-taghyir, where the ibadah has been, and the form of that ibadah has been changed. The form of the ibadah. Don't get confused with the third one, which was the changing of the actual ibadah, substitute, replacement of the ibadah. This one is what? The actual ibadah has been changed. And the last one, at-takhyir, takhfif al-takhyir, where a person has been given the option, different options. طيب. The Shaykh says رحمه الله نعم ويعذر بترك جمعة وجماعة مريض. طيب. ويعذر, the person is excused for leaving the Jum'ah, Salatul Jum'ah, or the Jama'ah, maridun, the one that is marid. That's number one. So put number one on top of marid. So the first person that is allowed to miss the Salatul Jama'ah is what? The one that is sick. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he was not well, he said, Muru Abu Bakr, command Abu Bakr, فَلْيُصَلِّ بِالنَّاسِ, let him pray and lead the people in Salah. Let him lead the people in Salah. طيب. So the asl is that if a person is marid, not well, then they are excused from attending the Jama'ah and the Jum'ah. Although the Jum'ah is slightly more, the person has to be slightly more cautious because it only comes around once a week. So they have to kind of like strive in trying to and exert all their efforts in trying to attend, even if they are ill. Like, if they're not able to, then it is the responsibility of attending the masjid is dropped. Lakin, what if a person has an illness, for example, a virus, and they're able to exert themselves and they're able to reach the masjid? For example, they will find someone to give them a lift and they can take a tablet, a painkiller, and slightly decrease the pain, and they can pray in the masjid for Jum'ah.
No, because there's a harm that's going to get across that disease.
Naam. In that case, it's haram for them to go to the masjid. It's not permissible for them to go to the masjid if they know that they have an illness that will go to the other musallin. La darara wa la dirar. Naam. What is the dabid lakin? Because illnesses are different levels. مثلا, a person bangs his nail against the wall. That is a type of illness. A person has a slight headache. That is a type of illness. A person has a broken leg. That's a type of illness. The tabit for this, write down. أن يكون المرض يلحق بالمريض الحرج والمشقة. كأن يزيد في المرض أو كأن يزيد المرض كأن يزيد المرض أو يتأخر برؤه. طيب. And this means that what is the dabit? What can be considered? So whenever we find the hukum, we need to have some sort of principle or a qaida, a rule of thumb that we can move from. So the general principle is that if the illness causes, by him going to the masjid or performing the ibadah, this is general to all ibadah, by performing the ibadah, it gives mashaqqa. There's much difficulty upon the person and hardship, whereby it may increase the illness or it delays the recovery process or the recovery period. مثلا, a person is able to go to the masjid. مثلا, a person is able to go to the masjid. Lakin if they go to the masjid, because it is cold outside and they've got this illness, If they go outside, then the illness is going to increase due to the cold weather. Then they are excused. Or by him going outside, then it means, or مثلا, another example, a person is given a course of antibiotics. And as you know, antibiotics, more often than not, you take 3 or 4 times a day. So if a person fasts, they're not able to take their 3 or 4 doses of antibiotics. Meaning what? It delays the process for them getting better. Then in that case, it's allowed for them to also what? To delay their ibadah, to not fast on that particular day. So if the illness causes a lot of difficulty for the person, whereby it could delay the recovery period or it could increase in the illness, then it is not permissible for the person to fast, or it is permissible for the person to not attend the Jama'ah, and so on and so forth. And it's also worth knowing that with these sorts of masail where the person, al-mar'u dabibu nafsihi, the person knows himself. You can go to a shaykh, you can ask 1,000 shuyukh for a fatwa. They will give you the borderline, they will give you the theory-based ruling. They will give you the ruling about theory. As for how ill you are, they won't know. Why? Because they're not you. So that is where the person, because this is a ibadah between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a dealing between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. The number 2, وَمُدَافِعُ أَحَدِ الْأَخْبَثَيْنِ. طيب. That's the second udhr, or the second excuse for a person not attending the Jama'ah or the Jum'ah. Whereby if a person is what? If he needs to go to the bathroom and he's in extreme discomfort, by him not what? If he goes to the masjid and he prays and listens to the khutbah and so on, and he doesn't have khushu', Why? Because praying the salah, praying khushu' with the salah is more important than what? Than the location of the salah. Sahih, that the masjid has a fadila, sah? Has a virtue. But lakin having khushu' in your salah, being able to actually pray, it also has a what? A virtue. Which virtue is greater? The virtue of having khushu', it goes back to the ibadah itself. Like in the virtue of going to the masjid, it goes back to the place it is done in. So we give precedence to the ibadah or the virtue that goes back to the actual ibadah itself. Right. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is the evidence for this, which is the Prophet ﷺ said, لا صلاة بحضرة الطعام ولا وهو يدافعه الأخبثان. Meaning he needs to go to the bathroom, number 1 or number 2, and he's not able to have any khushu'. Lakin, if a person, for example, let's say, a person is in a masjid, or he walks into the masjid and it's Yawm al-Jum'ah, and the imam is in the last few moments of the khutbah, and he could go into the bathroom, he has drunk a lot of water, lakin he's not in desperate need or anything like that. Khalas, then he can pray because he is not in dire need and his khushu' won't be affected. طيب. نعم. Then he says وبحضرة الطعام محتاج إليه. طيب. That is a tabit. This is the third one. بحضرة الطعام. And when food is presented, lakin there's a qaid here. محتاج إليه. The person needs that ta'am. He's hungry. And due to not having khushu', then he's able to what? He's not, due to having extreme hunger, or due to him being hungry, he's not able to have khushu'. Therefore, his body is in the masjid, like in his what? His khushu' and his heart, his mind and soul are what? On the table. طيب. And the evidence for that, the hadith I just said, لا صلاة بحضرة الطعام. يعني the salah, there is no obligation at the time if there's the food has been presented. Like it obviously it has to have certain conditions. For example, the person needs to have need for the ta'am, like the author mentioned. Also, the person has to be able to eat the ta'am. He has to have access to the ta'am. Whereby if he doesn't go to the Jama'ah, during the time that he would be going to the Jama'ah, he's actually eating. He's able to eat. What does this exclude? Something that's going to be ready in about 25 minutes. مثلا the adhan goes off or the iqamah goes off and the person has just put rice on the stove and it's going to take about what? Maybe half an hour or so. طيب and he says لا صلاة بحضرة الطعام أصلا ما في طعام. There is no طعام. So even if you don't go to the Jama'ah, that ta'am won't be ready in time. It won't be ready anytime soon. It will only be ready in about 25 minutes. In that time, you could have gone to the masjid and to come back. So a person has to have access to the ta'am. طيب. Then he says, number 4, وَخَائِفٌ مِّن ضِيَاعِ مَالِهِ. نعم. من ضياع ماله أو فواته أو ضرر فيه أو موت. طيب. Or the fourth example is a person who fears for his wealth being lost. Or يعني, the amount of being less. For example, a person, let's say there are thieves around. Or ضرر, or there's harm. Let's say the first two. خائف من ضياع ماله. مثلا a person is in a shop and he doesn't have the keys to lock the shop. Someone's taken the keys. And the masjid is there. Lakin his colleague has taken the keys. He forgot it in his pockets. Therefore, if he leaves the masjid, then if he leaves the shop, then obviously it's going to be robbed. So in that case, he can't leave it. Or a person who is guarding a place. A person who is guarding a building whereby there's equipment that is going to be stolen. And he's working there as a security guard. He's also what? Excused from the Jama'ah. He's excused from the Jama'ah. أو ضرر فيه, or he fears that he will be harmed by going to the masjid. مثلا, let's say he's living in the middle of nowhere, he's doing camping, and he knows if he walks, the nearest masjid is about a mile away. Like, and it just so happens to be lions in the bush, in the jungle. خلاص, he's scared. يخاف على نفسه. Or he knows there are thieves and highway robbers and so on and so forth. يخاف, يعني, any sort of darar he fears. Then that is also an excuse. That is also an excuse. طيب. Or dararin, this one can go back to also if there's harm that is going to come to his property. طيب. Why? Because then على نفسه is going to come. أو موت قريبه, that is number 5. أو موت قريبه. مثلا, a relative or a friend or a person that you know is on the last few moments of their lives. And you fear that if you go to the Jama'ah, by the time you come back there, they've passed away. And you want to do talqeen al-shahad, you want to say to them, say la ilaha illallah, say la ilaha illallah. Therefore, that is also a reason for the person to what? To leave the Jum'ah. And it has been narrated that Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, it was mentioned to him that Sa'id ibn Zayd rahimahullah ta'ala radiallahu anhu was on his deathbed on the day of Jum'ah. And he went to him, even though it was the daytime, and he left the Jama'ah. He went to him, he went to visit him, and he missed the Jama'ah. طيب. أو على نفسه من ضرر, or he fears for himself, he fears that he will be harmed. Whether it's due to the example that I mentioned earlier on, lions or predators around or people who are going to harm him and so on and so forth. Let's say a person, مثلا, he lives near a masjid. He lives in, مثلا, near a place where sometimes there's a lot of junkies that gather around. And if he goes to the masjid in the morning, then they're drunk and they're going to harm him. And he knows they're going to harm him. Then that may be an excuse. Or sultanin, or from a ruler, a sultan, that is going to what? Harm him. That is number 7. Then that is also an excuse. Or mulazamati gharimin wala shay'a ma'ahu. Or mulazamat, or a person who you owe money to, who's constantly going to ask you, who's constantly going to say, where's my money, and so on and so forth. Then it is permissible for the person to not go to the masjid. Why? Because the wajib for that sort of person is that you give him respite and you wait for him. وإن كان ذو عسرة فنظرة إلى ميسرة. And that person is wajib for him to be patient. Likewise, if the time of the debt is not due, then it doesn't come under this as well. Because Aslan, he's not allowed to do that. Let's say, for example, you borrow £1,000 from someone and the deal or the agreement is that you give it to him in a year's time. And you see him in the masjid, you're not going to say, I'm not going to go to the masjid because I owe someone money in the masjid. La, because the dain is not due. Also, this what is excluded is mulazamati gharimin. What if a person you owe a debt to and you're not able to pay it and you were meant to pay it last week? Like, in this person is not going to say to you, where's the money? He's going to say, khalas, ya akhi, khud rahatak, take your time. If that is the case, then you can't use that as an excuse to not attend the Jama'ah. لماذا؟ he's not bothering you, he's not hassling you to go or he's not preventing you from or asking you to pay the money. أو من فوات رفقته. Or the next excuse or the next reason, the seventh one or the ninth one, afwan, is if he fears that the group of people that he's with are going to leave. He fears that the people that he's with are going to leave. Let's say, for example, you arrive at a service station. You arrive at a service station. And the Jama'ah that you're with, a group, National Express, matalan, let's say in a Muslim country, and there's a group of people, they're traveling at the same time, and there's a musalla. You're waiting for the Jama'ah is going to be in 10 minutes. But the people that are with you on your coach are going to leave in 5 minutes. If you wait for that Salah, the Jama'ah, then your rufqa, the people that you're with, they're going to what? They're going to go and they're going to leave you. So then you're allowed to pray on your own. Or let's say, mathalan, you've gone to a certain place, you're traveling, or even in your home, for example, and there's a group of people that are leaving now, they're leaving the city now. They're leaving the city, and the Jama'ah in the masjid is 10-15 minutes time. You're allowed to go with them because you know that you're not able to combine both. You're not able to go with them and pay the Jama'ah. If you go to pay the Jama'ah, they go. If you're able to say to them, wait until I go to the Jama'ah, khalas, fabiha wa ni'mah, that is ahsan. Like, if they're saying we're going to go when we need to go and we're going to be late and so on and so forth, and there's other people waiting for us, then khalas, you're excused from attending the Jama'ah. طيب. أو غلبه نعاس, or a person who is overtaken by sleep. طبعا sleep is of different levels. Sometimes a person is extremely tired. Sometimes a person is just tired. They're yawning, but they're not very tired. غلبه نعاس, يعني he's not able to, the nawm is shadid, to the extent that he may not know what he's saying if he waits another 20 minutes or another hour to arrive. مثلا, a person comes back from traveling. He comes back from Umrah, he comes back from traveling, مثلا, and he arrives at his home. And the Jama'ah is in 20 minutes time. And he's shattered. He knows that if he waits 20 minutes or half an hour, by the time he's probably going to miss the Salah. Or if he knows if he goes to the masjid, he might end up having a car crash on the way there. Or he may be asleep in the Salah. Therefore, he's allowed to, in these situations, he's allowed to what? No. All of these examples, you can actually use it for the bahth that you're doing. Or غلبه, like, you can't use these specific ones, like in ones that are along those lines. Or غلبه نعاس. Or أذن بمطر. Or the next excuse or the next reason, which is number 11, is that if it is raining and he will be harmed by the rain to the extent that he will be soaking wet by the time he reaches the masjid or by the time he comes back. Or wahlin, or الطين الرقيق, يعني it's very muddy, or it's quite muddy, whereby if he goes to the masjid, by the time he comes back, he'll be wet, soaking wet, and it will be muddy, or his clothing will be muddy, and will be a lot of dirt on him. Another example is snow. If it is extremely, or if there's a lot of snow and it's difficult for him to go to the masjid, to drive to the masjid, or to walk to the masjid. Questions in a minute here. Or to walk to the masjid. It's just one line left. طيب. أو بمطر أو وحل أو بريح باردة في ليلة مظلمة. أو بريح, or a rih, when it is very windy. باردة, and that wind is very cold. في ليلة مظلمة, in a dark night. طيب. These are قيود, or restrictions. Where it says بريح باردة, some nusakh have shadida, صح? All of these, نعم. My one doesn't. Like, if that is the case, if your one doesn't have shadida, يعني harsh or severe, then write it on top of it, inshallah. في بريح باردة شديدة في ليلة مظلمة. طيب, so these are the قيود. لكن obviously There are other madhahib and other opinions in this masala whereby if it is cold, then that suffices. It doesn't have to be severe. The wind doesn't have to be severe. And it doesn't have to be a dark night. No, it doesn't have to be extremely dark. Why dark? Because obviously a person can't see where he's going. So due to the difficulty. Ala kullin, examples are endless. The examples are endless. The qa'idah that it goes back to is what? Al-mashaqqatu tajlibu taysir. And another qa'idah, إذا طاق الأمر اتسع. إذا طاق الأمر, if the affair becomes limited or if it becomes extremely difficult, اتسع, the ruling becomes what? More lenient. طيب, so these are so these are some of the excuses or some of the reasons why a person may leave the Jama'ah. I believe the author mentioned 12. طيب. طيب والله تعالى أعلم وأحكم وبالله التوفيق. Any questions? Go on, brother. You had a question?
Regarding the rain, if someone has access to an umbrella,
if someone has access to an umbrella whereby they won't be soaking wet, then they're not excused. Lakin, there's another sunnah when it is raining in that way, where is to combine in the masjid. To combine Dhuhr and Asr in the masjid, or Dhuhr, Maghrib and Isha. Are the guards at Masjid al-Haram excused from the Jama'ah? Na'am, if they are there to look after the safety of the people, which is the case, they're there to look after the safety of the people, then it's permissible. Mathalan, especially the ones that are looking after the Imam. Sometimes you will find people that are running towards the Imam to go and harm him. And they're there to protect the people.
Said about second خلف إمام عالٍ على وقف below. When he knows, for example, when you're building up levels of the masjid.
That is also permissible if the Imam is lower than them, because we said that the masjid, anywhere in the masjid, if they, as long as they can hear the Imam, they can pray behind the Imam.
And moving forward into his roles. For example, the Masjid Nabawi, like you mentioned, you keep continuously moving forward. So what would be a good compass or a good limit for you to...
A row, one row, or maximum two. One row or maximum two.
Within the spaces, if there's a space a bit diagonal to us, the person directly
the person, only if there's a furja in front of him, then you go to that furja. Or on your right hand side or on your left hand, like almost in front of you. Like if there's one on that side of the masjid, you don't have to go sideways. It's only going forward.
If you enter a masjid, a particular masjid I entered, sometimes when it's a wide masjid, so there's final row, there's people on the right and there's people on the left. There's a gap in the middle. So if you come, where do you join? Join or not?
Whichever one's closer to you. So so for example, you can come to the masjid sometimes, because it's a wide masjid, there are people on the left hand side and there are people on the right hand side. They're meant to stand in the middle anyway. They're meant to start joining the row from the middle. Like, let's say they do so from the right hand side or they do so from the left hand side. You join whichever one is closer to you, because more often than not, the reason people do that is because they know the row will be filled anyway. More often than not, that is why they do that.
We said for Kharij al-Masjid that you have to be able to see the Imam or see the row. What about when you can't do any of the two but you can hear?
It was mentioned. Ittisal al-sufuf, if the rows are connected.
I'm saying you can't see anything. You can't see both. Like for example, our masjid, if they pray outside, you can't see the Imam, nor can you see a saf.
Nevertheless, like in urfan, custom-wise, that is considered the masjid. Afan, not considered the masjid. Like in the joining of those rows, they're following the Imam, they can hear the Imam. Urfan, urf-wise, is as if they're following the masjid, the Imam.
You mentioned in the hadith when Hassan moved the Sahaba from his left to his right, بحسب الصلاة for the preservation of Salah. What about other things can a person do in Salah? For example, if someone's awrah is shown, are you allowed to pull up or shut down? For example, if someone is leaning the forearms on the floor, lift it up for them sujood.
Like, if something for the maslahah of the salah, that in that case it won't have an effect on. For example, they have their hand on the ground. It won't affect their salah in the sense that their salah won't be invalid, and the reward of your salah won't be invalid, and it doesn't cause confusion with your salah. La, that's fine. Like in here, where the Prophet ﷺ moved him, then that is because the position of the ma'mum is on the right hand side. Like, let's say, مثلا, a child is praying next to you and is fidgeting. You go like that, for example. Or your phone is ringing and you go into your pocket and you turn it off. That is for the maslahah of the salah. Or مثلا, let's say something falls on the ground right in front of you and then you move it with your leg. Or when you're going down for sujood, you move it. That is for the maslahah of the salah. For the
The things that cut the salah, speech and what else?
Say that again.
The things that cut the
نعم تسبيح فاصل or speak or normal speech talking to someone else. خلاص والله تعالى أعلم وأحكم بالله التوفيق.
وقل رب زدني علما